Hello, my name is Dale Adams of Planning Ahead of Time, and on this week's Pat Chat, I'm speaking to Louise. Louise and I have spoken before, but it was quite a long time ago now, over a year ago that we did our first Pat Chat, and a lot has just changed for you with regards to your working career and what you're doing. So would you like to tell any listeners what it is you're doing now?
Yeah, I am a therapist. I am retiring from my work as a therapist with my one-to-one clients, and I'm looking to go into a direction now where I'd like to work with small groups of people. I'm thinking of starting up a bereavement group. I'm also an author of 2 books about grief, and I have a podcast about grief. So I feel like the last 25 years as a therapist has been a really good foundation to get me to the point I'm at now. So I'm in this transitional zone at the moment where I really want to have more time to do more recording with my podcast, get more episodes out there. I also like to do some more writing, and I've been asked to be a contributing author in another book, and getting my groups off the ground. I'm not quite sure how they're going to be yet. It's all sort of formulating in my head still, but it's been quite a big decision to make, because when you've done something for 25 years and you love what you do, to suddenly not do that anymore, it's been quite challenging. But yes, I am now, that's the direction I feel like I'm being nudged into, to help other people that are going through bereavement, people that are stuck in grief, or people that are newly bereaved. I just feel that that's where I want to be now, and working with people like that.
Well, I think your clients have actually made it difficult for you to transition, haven't they? After you told them you were retiring, then what happened?
Oh, well, I sent the newsletter out, and I got inundated with people saying, can you just fit me in for one more treatment? So I officially retired last week, but the next 2, even 3 weeks, I've still got clients coming, because I promised to do another treatment before I go. And there are half a dozen clients that I do EFT tapping with. I can't just drop them, so I'm going to honour their treatments until they're ready to not need them anymore. So and that's fine, because it's also like a gentle tapering off for me as well. Just not like this week I'm really busy and then I've suddenly stopped. It is quite nice to sort of taper it off. So yeah, I'd just like to carry on using all the skills that I've learned over the years, and just utilize them in a different way with group work. And you can help so many more people that way as well, rather than just on a one-to-one basis.
Well, the thing is, you're already doing sessions within that field, aren't you? So you do group sessions of sound therapy and sound baths at the moment, because I've been to a few, and that in itself is so healing, isn't it?
Yeah, I just think it's a lovely space for reflection and healing. It just invites people to sort of step out of their busy lives, come for an hour where you just lie on a yoga mat with your pillow and your blanket. I do a meditation at the beginning, and then it's like 40 minutes of sound using various different sound instruments. So I have Tibetan singing bowls, I have crystal bowls, I have chimes, gongs, I have all manner of different instruments, and each instrument is tuned to a healing frequency. So, and then after the 40 minutes of playing the different instruments, there's a few moments of silence, and then I do a grounding meditation at the end, and sort of close the class. And I just love it. It's just another way to reach out to people. And that's one thing I would like to do more of. And I would also like to do some that are specific for people that are going through grief as well. So I've got lots of ideas floating around.
Yeah, well, this is what you'd said about doing some of the sound baths for bereaved people. And I thought,
Yeah.
well, it would be great because, again, you are working in different healing frequencies, aren't you? And there's things that certainly resonate and help to sort of release when you're in it, and also after it, because it still continues on, doesn't it, once you've left the session?
Yes, it does. It just helps to rebalance, your energy system, potentially every cell in your body. But with the grief sound baths, I'd like to do it slightly different. So invite people to bring a photograph of their loved one. I'd like to incorporate more crystals into the session, more meditation into the session, as well as sound, and also time for conversation, maybe at the end, for people to say things that they might not ordinarily say outside of that space. Um, so yeah, it's a very healing experience that a lot of people say to me, even days later, they still feel the benefits of it. They still feel calm. And we talk a lot about mindfulness as well, and they take away a little mindfulness gift. And it encourages people to, take something away so they can practice at home on their own as well. So yeah, there's just so many ways that, we can connect to relaxation, connect to healing through meditation. And I like to combine the meditation and the sound as well. There's so many other things I want to bring into it.
Yeah. Well, you already have the podcast, A Gift for Grief.
Yes.
I know about this because I've been on your podcast twice, one quite recently, talking about my psychic mediumship work. And that for you is something you want to do more of, isn't it? And bring more people onto that.
Definitely. And I want to, the idea of the A Gift for Grief podcast is to reach people who are feeling very alone in their grief, because it is such an individual experience. Nobody else can understand what you're going through because everybody goes through their own journey. But from my own experience, when my son Matthew died, I found it really comforting, weirdly, listening to other people that had been through grief, because I was thinking, oh yeah, I felt like that too. Oh yeah, I wasn't going mad when, this happened. So I like to talk to people that have gone through a significant loss. They share their story, they share things that have helped them, because that was one of the big things that helped me in the early days. And it's still helping me now. Each person that comes in, each guest that comes in, shares something that really resonates with me. And I think, well, if it resonates with me, it's going to resonate with other people as well and help other people. Um, and I do want to take my podcast more down the spiritual path as well, because I come from a spiritual perspective and I welcome all faiths and beliefs. But I really, really enjoy talking about spiritual realms and signs and the afterlife, because when you've lost somebody very, very close to you, you need that reassurance that they are there, they're still around. And I'm hoping that my podcast helps people to feel that and connect to that. So I'm really excited about your episode, which went out today, by the way.
No,
So
I thoroughly enjoyed doing it. I mean,
yeah.
I like spending time with you and Bill, so it was great fun.
Yeah, we could have talked for hours, couldn't we?
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll be back again to do another one in a few months.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah,
But I mean, you were talking on there about signs that you have and you receive from Matthew, and I think it is so comforting that it's so helpful to people to believe that, and know that they are still around. It's the physical body that has died. And I do talk a lot about death, dying, loss, and grief, and I use the words rather than passing or transitioning. But the reality is when I'm talking about that, I am talking about the death of the physical body. Because for me, it is, yes, people are spiritually, they're transitioning out of their physical body into their spiritual one, or they are passing out of this into the other. So I understand the expressions, but as I work with end of life planning, we have to be quite definitive with the words that we're using. I do believe that they are all around us. I mean, there's so much evidence of that, and I know that you also receive that, don't you?
yeah, and I'm like you. I'm very careful with the language that I use. It's death, dying, dead. in my book, that is it. Um, when I was 11, my eldest brother died very suddenly. And I still remember my mum coming to wake me up in the morning with my sister, and she said, "There's been a terrible accident and your brother Stephen isn't coming home again." Now, in my 11-year-old mind, he's had an accident. Is he in a hospital? Is he on a life support machine? Where is he? He wasn't dead.
Yeah.
And I know how important it is to use those words that are definite: dying, dead, death. And it might sound harsh to the everyday person, but I think it's really important to use those words. But with the signs, I'm always very aware that there are people that listen to the podcast that may not get signs. And then I think, I don't want people to think, oh, why don't I get signs? Did my loved one not love me so much? So I always like to sort of talk about, we get signs all the time. I'm probably missing loads. I'm just picking up on one or two maybe. But I, like you, believe they are around us all the time. And if my podcast goes some way to helping people understand and appreciate that and believe that, then I think that's great. I mean, it might not be for everybody. I mean, I've had atheists and agnostics on my podcast as well. Everybody's welcome, because I think everybody's views are important and have value. But I think because I come from a spiritual perspective, that's the way I'm drawn.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not out there to change anybody's beliefs. It's just something I feel very passionate about. So I'm hoping that my podcast will go sort of more and more in that direction as it evolves.
Yeah. Well, we've just been talking about that, haven't we? And it is about accepting everybody for their beliefs, whatever they are. I don't push my beliefs onto them. I will talk about what I do, but if somebody doesn't like it, they're not interested, just steer away from it, because I think it's okay to have your own ways, to be totally unique in the way that you grieve, in the way that you believe, everything around it. If we're nice people, that just makes it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm totally the same. I'm not here to push my beliefs onto anybody else. I love to listen to other people's thoughts and beliefs. They may not resonate with me, but it doesn't stop me being interested in what they've got to say. And I want to reach lots of people out there to help them with their grieving process. So, whether they're spiritual, whether they're agnostics, whether they're atheists, whether whatever they are, it doesn't matter. The podcast is for everybody, really. But I think that's just, I'm just trying to steer it in a more spiritual way.
Yeah.
I just find that so interesting.
Yes. Well, I know that because you came on one of my courses as well. We've known each other years. But the one thing, and I know we mentioned it on the patch up previously, but I just love the fact that Letters to Matthew was very much written in I was going to say in conjunction with Matthew. That's probably the wrong word, but very much it was a partnership project, wasn't it?
So yeah, Letters to Matthew, my first book, I had no intention of writing a book. He died on the Friday afternoon, and I just started journaling. I've been journaling on and off for years as part of just my own self-development, really. It's just something you do for yourself. It's not something you show anybody else. So it's like having a diary, but instead of putting things like, oh, I'm doing a Zoom with Dale today, it's you're putting what you feel, what thoughts are going through your mind, what's going on in your life. You're documenting your emotions, your feelings, and your thoughts. And when you actually sit down and write about it, and then you read it back, it just gives you a deeper insight into you. And I found that after my son Matthew died, things were just rolling around in my head. So I sat down and started writing them down. And I wrote them down in the form of letters to Matthew. So it'd be, "Dear Matthew, today, blah, blah, blah. This is what's going on." And after a few months, it's a bit of a weird one, but I was at the sink just peeling vegetables and thinking about how the letters were, helping me process my experience of grief, when all of a sudden I just felt, and it makes me tingle every time I talk about this, I just felt the energy of Matthew surrounding me, and it literally was like he was giving me a virtual hug. And I really felt that connection to him. It was like he was there with me in that moment. And I cried, but there were tears of like happiness and connection. And then it was like I didn't hear his voice with my ears, it was in my head. I got a picture of this book called Letters to Matthew, Life After Loss by Louise Bates. And Matthew was telling me to write a book. And in my head, I was saying, I can't write a book. I'm not a writer. Because my son was a journalist, he was a writer. And he was saying, Mum, you've got to write a book. And it was just an amazing moment. And then I finished peeling the potatoes and it passed. And then when my husband came home from work, I told him what happened. And, well, you met Bill, very much
Yes.
bloke. He's not sure about all this spiritual woohoo stuff, but
Yeah.
he's very good. He'll listen. And I said, what do you think? And he said, well, I'm not sure about a book. So I said, well, why don't you sit and read my journal at some point and see what you think? And it was probably a few weeks or maybe a couple of months later, he sat down and he read my journal, and he actually said how much it helped him, because things that I'd shared on those pages, he'd experienced and never talked about, and all the thoughts. And he said, yeah, do it, write the book. And then I had to ask my daughter, because both Bill and my daughter are like my filters. And I thought, if she's happy with it, I'll do it. And I said to her, what do you think about me? Right. She went, Mom, just do it. It's a brilliant idea. She didn't even want to read my journal. So I basically carried on journaling for the first year after Matthew had died. And then the second year was just writing about things that had helped me. And then we put it into a book, and we went down that process, and we've got it on Amazon. And then it was amazing, because at first I was a little bit, oh, I'm sharing these really deep personal feelings and thoughts with people I don't know, with the world, and what will people think, and I'm going to be judged. So I had all of these conflicting thoughts going through my mind. But literally within a matter of weeks, I knew it was the right thing to do, because I was getting so many lovely messages and testimonials and reviews from people that had read it. So, I knew in my heart that was the right thing to do, but sometimes your head questions you, doesn't it?
Of
But
course. Yeah.
yeah, and then because I'd stopped writing, I felt like I was in no man's land. I didn't quite know what to do. So I started writing book number 2, created a website, started a blog. I really feel that writing helps me. And, if it helps, I always say, if it helps just one more person, then it's worth it. Something good has come from it. But, to receive messages and support from people, and it still comes in today, you just think, I feel like Matthew is guiding me, because this hasn't just come from me. I really feel like he's guiding me. And it was Matthew that woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, Mum, you've got to do a podcast. And I'm like, me do a podcast? I don't like putting myself out there. I like to sit back and watch the world go by. And here I am doing a podcast. And now here I am talking to you. And, this is like, where's this all coming from? I feel it's all being divinely guided. And it's my purpose now. It's not a path I would have chosen,
Of course not.
but finding purpose when you lose a loved one helps enormously. And then, you've got the benefit that you're hopefully helping other people as well.
But this is what I mean when I said it was a partnership, because as you say, you have felt literally supported by him throughout, and actually pushed along by him too, for things that you've just said I would never have done if it wasn't for him saying to do it. If somebody maybe in the physical world had said to you to do it, you'd have gone, no thanks, I'll do something else. But it's having that feeling of that real spiritual force and energy saying, this is what you're meant to do, and showing it you. You know, I love that, and actually seeing it as a book, because I think even the imagery, you knew roughly what, you know, you knew what that was going to be, didn't you? Before it started, you'd seen it.
Yeah, I saw the image of the book, and Matthew had to be written in a funeral wreath. It just had to be written in a funeral wreath. And there are very personal reasons why it had to be written in a funeral wreath. But it was really hard to get an artist to do the cover. And I'm not artistic. My daughter's artistic, but a very different type of art. So we put it out there for a competition. There's a website that you can go onto where artists join, and you can give them the brief, say, I've written a book, this is what it's called, this is what I want, this is the colours I want. And people would just send you images of what they've created. And we went with a lad from India, and he got very close to it. And I said, look, can you just do this and tweak that? And we'll be happy with it. And he did it. And £50 to him, because that was the prize money, it was £50, was a lot of money. And I was so pleased that, you know, it helped in that way as well.
Yeah. No, that's lovely. So you've had a lot of guests on your podcast, and obviously you're going to look to sort of change it in a little bit of a different direction. But you've also just said, then obviously we're talking about the books, the one that you did. So the first one was a letters to Matthew. The second book was, I believe it was actually called A Gift for Grief, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was called A Gift for Grief, and it basically is all the things that help me. So it includes poems, it includes meditations, information about what crystals that are good for grief, aromatherapy oils that you can use. It's got lots of information about all the good stuff, all the things that help me. And it also contains some case studies from my work as a therapist, where I've helped people with their grief journey. I think people like to read stories and hear stories. So I've obviously changed names for confidentiality. So there's nothing negative about the book. It's a really lovely, I think it's a really lovely gift to be able to give to somebody. You know, when you know somebody and they've lost somebody, and I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. You can give them this book.
Right.
Because they may not read it straight away. It's not a book that you have to read from cover to cover. It's a book that you can just open a page. In fact, one of my clients said to me about a month ago, she lost her husband. And she said, she just every now and again, she'll just open a page and randomly read what's on the page. But there's one poem on there, and it's about, I'd read it out to you now if I could have it to hand. But she said, I keep reading it. She says, because every time I read it, she just feels something inside that reassures her. And I just think that's amazing. I think it's incredible. So, yeah.
Well, you've done so much to help people, and it shows, because as you were just talking a moment ago, I've actually just found something that I saw earlier by a man called Stephen Garrett, who I've done various work with. He's a death shaman, and I think he's amazing. And today he was saying about the death of his sister, who died 37 years ago. And actually, and it just made me think of, from what you were saying, he actually put, I didn't waste your precious death. Instead, I leaned into my deep sorrow and allowed it to grow me into the person I am today. And I thought, with what you've just said, that's exactly what you've done. You've leaned into it. You've taken the guidance that you've been given by Matthew, and you've gone into a new journey of your life. And it's about helping others. And it has brought you to the person that you are today, doing everything that you can to support other people who are going through the grief journey. And so it's...
Yeah, and I mean, it will be 9 years in October that Matthew died. And we still have our moments, but we know now when that tsunami comes or whatever triggers you, you know you're going to come out the other side because I've survived all of this time. And in a way, you don't want them to stop coming. It's a really weird feeling. In fact, the other night, Bill won't mind me sharing this with you, but he's retired now from his recruitment business. And he said, "This is the happiest I've felt." And then he got upset because it was guilt that he felt happy. And I said, "But Matthew would want you to be happy." And although logically he knows that, it's like, oh, how can I be happy and he's not here with us to share it? Well, I believe that he is here to share it. He's in the room going, "Well done, Dad, you know, about bloody time, you old man."
And also, as you say, pushing you on and actually helping change the path. So sometimes whether that is with you going more into the grief and helping others, or whether it is Bill actually coming out of a role and doing more of what he enjoys, because I see him messing about with podcasts and, you know, potential upcoming Bill and Louise retired old people or whatever it's called.
Seen that, oh my God.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Things he talks me into, honestly.
But this is it, you know, Bill is now having that time to be Bill, and yeah, that's definitely the route that Matthew or any of us would want him to take. And
absolutely, yeah.
It is hard though. People, of course, have that guilt, and it is, when I work with people, often it's about saying, but if somebody was stood next to you, if your loved one was stood next to you, as I believe they often are, and if your loved one was stood next to you and all they saw was you continually crying and continually upset and literally your life breaking because of their death, and they can't do anything to help you, they can't do anything to make this better for you, that's what they're seeing all the time. Whereas if you can stand up and you can get on with your life and you can talk about them and take them with you and, you know, laugh again, they see that. So your joy becomes their joy and your sadness becomes their sadness. And I know not everyone will agree with that. And I also am not taking away the fact that people get very upset, included, you know, for the people that have died around us. But it is the fact that that is not what I know any spirit would want for their loved one and their person in the physical world.
I know that we talked about this on your episode, and I remember saying to you that when we make peace with our grief, that sends them peace too. And, you know, people might look at me and think, oh, you know, she's sorted, she's written 2 books about grief and she's got a podcast about grief and she looks fine. But I'm doing these things for me too, because it helps me. But I really do believe that making peace with grief it's a process and it doesn't happen overnight. And, you know, everybody's different. But when we get to that place, it's going to send them peace too, isn't it? That's what they want. So hopefully the work that I do helps people to get to that place.
You put that really beautifully, Louise, and I know that you do so much to help and support other people. And it's been lovely to chat with you again on this podcast. So if people are interested in the books that you have, either going on your podcast or listening to it, maybe finding out more about the upcoming bereavement groups. I know that they're still in sort of thought process and development, but they will be coming. How do they contact you and find out more?
So I have a website, all the w's.louisebates.co.uk, and you will find my podcast on there, my blogs on there, free meditations, and when my groups are up, and my sound meditation classes, and when my bereavement classes are organised and up and running, the information will be on the website as well. So everything is on the website.
That's lovely. Thank you very much again for chatting with me today. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you. It's always lovely to talk to you too.